Hello and welcome to the channel. Now firstly I will say yes, there's a lot of glare on my glasses, so bear with me. I've got a little polarizing lens cap that's on its way that will sort that issue out. Thank you Greg for shouting that out for me. I'm bringing you something different today. I'm doing a Challenge XI. I don't really know what to call this series, but like Challenge XIs is the way I've kind of put it in my brain anyway, where I try and make a Man City 11 based off a theme of some sort. Yeah, simple as that. And I'll do my one, what I can kind of pull out of my head, and then I'll compare it to the best possible ones. So for instance, this one, we're going to be doing the Manchester City Academy 11 of current players who are currently playing. So no kind of Micah Richards or anyone like that, Sean Wright Phillips. All players have to be playing now. So I'll try and pull them out of my head, and then we'll go through transfer marked and see if there's any I missed and where the XI could be improved. So let's get straight into goalkeepers. Now for goalkeepers I had down on my list, I had Muric, Bazunu, Trafford and Schmeichel. I think with this one, Muric, I think he came through the academy anyway. We definitely had him young and he was at Burnley last season I believe. I don't really think he proved himself to be a top quality keeper. Schmeichel being on the kind of tail end of his career, free agent currently, nobody really wants him. The two ways of thinking about it is, do I go for the experience? Do I go with the young bucks? And I've opted for the young bucks. Now for me, there's not much difference between Trafford and Bazunu at this point. Obviously Trafford is kind of held in a higher regard right now, having done so well in the under-21 Euros. Bazunu, though, did have an incredible start to his international career, which got him in such high praise with a lot of fans. So I think just purely off the experience of a tough top-flight league, one serious year, he can kind of learn his trade now and kind of really focus on being a good keeper with no kind of fear because he's already had that experience. Where Trafford, I think he will probably have a very similar career to Bazunu, in all honesty. I think he's going to have a really tough year this year. Burnley might go down, and then next year will be Bazunu's this year, if that makes sense. They're like a very similar career paths, but just a year apart. So for that, I'm going to go Bazunu in my goalkeeping spot, just for the fact he's got a little bit more experience, and I've seen more of him than Trafford, simply enough, and Muric I'm just not going to go for. Now, right backs was an interesting one. So I have Trippier, Luis Rico and Jeremy Frimpong. Now this is really tough, mainly because of the left back spot where I could only think of Angelino. So what I opted for is I thought I'd put Trippier on the left. I thought that was a sensible option because as much as I've tried to back Angelino through the years, Trippier just provides something different that this team, as you'll see the makeup of it, doesn't really have. That kind of experience, leadership, as well as his set pieces, just very invaluable to a top flight team. Has done it in countless teams now, in different leagues, different tournaments. So Trippier for me would be very, very silly not to get in. Was kind of part of I believe, I might be getting this wrong, he was part of that team that won the FA Cup. Somebody else who was in that team, I'm going to chop the back four up a bit here, and my right centre back spot I'm going to go for Ben Mee. Very similar to Trippier. I think once again he was in that same squad, the FA Cup winning squad of a while ago. I don't know which year it was, but once again I said it with Trippier, he provides the leadership, the experience that you're not going to get throughout this team. There's quite a big age gap between those kind of elder statesmen, the 33-year-olds, and the young bucks, which it definitely is a lot of young bucks. Can't argue with Ben Mee in a Premier League side. I think he's an incredible player. I think he showed it at Burnley and has gone on to show it more at Brentford, where I think he's excelled. He genuinely has excelled. Most top flight teams would not worry if they've got Ben Mee coming on as a squad rotation if you're at the very top, or as a starter in the kind of Europa challenging spots. And alongside him, in between the two, I've gone for Karim Rekic. Now, a player that I had high hopes for way back when, kind of dipped into obscurity a bit. We had those kind of a few players like that, kind of Stefan Savic, who I don't know if he came through our academy, but we definitely had him young. I didn't want him in. I absolutely hate that man as a footballer. He's just too much of a shithouse. But the Nastasic as well, those kind of players where they came through at a similar time and then dipped off into, not obscurity, it's a bit harsh, but dipped off into other European leagues and other European sides. But Rekic's kind of rebuilt his career. I think he's around 28 now, 29. So he's really come into his own, matured as a centre-back. I think he would work quite well again with Ben Mee, to be honest. Left-footed as well, so always important to have a left-footed centre-back in there. And yeah, he's just, he has won trophies where he's been. I think he's got, I think he won something with Marseille. I think he won something with PSV. And he definitely won the Europa League last year, or this year, I should say. So yeah, very good player to have, experienced all around Europe. So the back four is, coming along quite well. So right back, I don't know why I started off with right back. It's now the position I've got to last. But right back, I thought to myself, Rico Lewis, Jeremy Frimpong. It's tough because I've got a lot of love for Rico Lewis, but I just think Jeremy Frimpong has just thrived. One of the outstanding players of last season for Bayer Leverkusen. I think I've personally saw something that I wasn't expecting. I knew that he would be an okay player when he went to Celtic. He went to Bayer Leverkusen, still didn't think too much of it, but it has been phenomenal. One of the best right backs in Europe last season, especially young right backs in Europe anyway. So I think I'd be a bit foolish not to have him in, and Rico Lewis would be a very good backup. They're very different in terms of style of football, but I think Frimpong for me just pinches it. Now I move into the midfield where I've got a lot more players in, a few different age ranges, and definitely a few different careers in here. So I've got McAtee, Doyle, Diaz, Lavia, Lopez, Suarez, Foden, Garcia, being Manu and Alex. Luckily, I managed to pull what I think is a semi-balanced midfield out of this. Lavia obviously sitting out of all those players. 4-3-3, by the way. Should have prefixed, said at the beginning. 4-3-3. It's always going to be a 4-3-3 these days. So Lavia sitting in that midfield spot, I think, as we all saw last year with Southampton. Brilliant player. I think, I could be getting this wrong, but the person at Chelsea now used to work at Southampton, who used to work with the Man City Academy. So I can't remember his name for the life of me. So when he was at Southampton, he got Lavia in. When he's at Chelsea now, he got Lavia in. He thinks highly of Lavia. He thinks something special is there. And he thinks the one player that, from the academy that he really wants to focus on is Lavia. So I think that shows a lot in terms of where we could see him go. Obviously, Caicedo's come in as well. So unfortunately, I think we're going to see less of Lavia than we'd like to. But for a Premier League side, having Lavia sitting, I don't think really you can complain. And in front of them, I've gone for Foden and Brahim Diaz. Now, both of them came up at the same time. Both, it was a kind of trio of Sancho, Foden, Diaz. And we kind of like, all these players, these are like the stars. These are going to, all make the Man City team and go on to be fantastic. And I genuinely believe all three of them could. But yeah, Diaz and Foden as kind of attacking midfielders, I think it'd be great. I do think we're lacking a little bit of progression. I think Lavia will have to do a hell of a job in this. Maybe we can get some progression from Frimpong on the side and Ben Mee, Rekic and Trippier can form a three. In that sense, why have I not gone for Rico Lewis, who actually does that job? Maybe I might do that, actually. Depends how I want to play football. I'm thinking too much into this. Anyway, Diaz, Foden, midfield two, in front of Lavia, who's sitting. I think that's pretty sensible. So move into the forward line. Obviously, 4-3-3, left winger, striker, right winger. Now, for right winger, I kind of got stuck in the kind of now. I couldn't really think of anyone who's anywhere near old playing for right wing who's come through the Manchester City Academy. So I've gone for Jadon Sancho, Cole Palmer, and Oscar Bob. Now, slightly controversially, I'm going to go for Oscar Bob. It could be very recency bias, I'm not going to lie. I think Oscar Bob is the future. He's the truth. He's everything that I want in a Pep winger, and he was already in the academy. I think we're going to see, hopefully, a lot from Oscar Bob. Brilliant name as well. I keep saying it. It just rolls off the tongue lovely. Oscar Bob. Oscar Bob. I'm waiting for that kind of meme of him scoring like a 40-yard screamer. It's not the way he plays football, but just has that magical moment where the commentator, and like Rooney, all these kind of magical moments, and it's just Bob. It's just funny in my head anyway. Yeah, instead of Cole Palmer and Jadon Sancho on the right, I've gone for Oscar Bob. Now the reason I've gone for Oscar Bob is because I think Palmer, as good as he is, I think already 100% recency bias. Oscar Bob, oh god, this could come back and bite me. Oscar Bob will have a better career than Cole Palmer. Yeah, I've said it. I think Cole Palmer, yeah, it's a shame that we've sold him, but we've got an incredible fee for him, and I've been critical of him, saying that I don't think he can cut it in the Manchester City first team, and I still hold true to that, but that's not to say he's not going to have a great career. I think he can do decent things in top Premier League clubs, but I just don't think he will do that at Manchester City. But Sancho, I haven't gone for Sancho on the right wing because I've put him on the left wing. The only left wing people I could think of was Carlos Borges, I'm guessing that's how you pronounce it. He's just gone to PS. No, he hasn't. He's gone to Ajax. Was going to go to West Ham. I haven't really seen much of him. I've seen his statistics, but I haven't watched too many compilations. I don't really know too much about him. He will probably be the one, given 1-2 years, will be the left winger spot in this list. But right now I've gone for Sancho because I still think there's a player in there. We saw it in the Bundesliga, and you just can't take that away from a man. You know that the quality's there. He's gone to Man United. Obviously things personally are not going right, because in my eyes anyway, you can't go from that as a player to what he is now. We've seen, Haaland transition from the Premier League, from the Bundesliga to the Premier League, like it's nothing. We've seen Jude Bellingham move the same. All those three players in my eyes, Jadon Sancho, Haaland and Bellingham, all left with the same amount of kind of rapport in my eyes. I know it's a bit of a stretch to put Sancho in with that, but genuinely he was phenomenal. And there's still a player there. There has to be a player there. You don't just lose that quality. So whatever it is at Manchester United, I think is a Man United problem. I think maybe he's the kind of player who is distracted easily and maybe swaying away by friends and stuff like this. But being in the Bundesliga probably helped him a lot. So maybe a move away would do him great. But I still think he's just absolutely quality. So I'd stick him in the left position, or maybe Bob, that you can interchange. But Bob and Sancho as the left wing and right wing positions. Now striker, I really struggled with striker. I got two names straight off the bat and then just sat there for ages. Obviously we've had like John Guidetti, don't know if he's still playing football, but had an okay career. I've got Devante Cole in here because I know he's still playing in the low. I don't even know where he's playing, but he's playing somewhere in the lower leagues. And I've got Lucas Nemecha. Now Nemecha, I think, would be the easiest shoe-in. Had a decent career in the Bundesliga, and considering I can only think of them two, I think he's a shoe-in really. So my Academy 11, off the top of my head, it's looking like Gavin Bazunu in goal. From right to left, we've got Frimpong, Ben Mee, Rekic, Trippier, Lavia in the holding positions, Diaz and Foden ahead of him, Oscar Bob, Nemecha and Jadon Sancho. Now, I'm not saying that's the best team in the world. I think that's a good team. I think that's like a Europa League team, maybe a team that dips into the Champions League every few years. There's experience in the back line. There's progression with Frimpong or Rico, Lewis and Lavia pushing forward, and there's creativity up top, and there's pace, there's finishing, and there's a keeper. There is a keeper there. We'll see how he does, but there's definitely a keeper there. But yeah, right. Now I'll move on to seeing if I'm an absolute buffoon and how many players I've actually forgotten. Okay, so we have transfer marked up. Put my notepad away. Actually, no, keep my notepad because if I need to improve the team, we'll be able to look at the players. Right. I've forgotten that Elise dipped into our academy. He's been through quite a few academies, so going under the radar quite a bit there. He might have made the team. No, he definitely would have made the team instead of Oscar Bob. I do think Bob's got a great future, but you'd be very silly to pick Elise over Bob. Taylor Harwood Bellis. Now, I've not gonna lie, I did forget about him. He's just gone back out on loan, I think, to Southampton, or is it a permanent move? I think he's too inexperienced, and considering the side is very inexperienced anyway, or very young anyway, I think it would be silly to not have as much experience in our backline as possible. Probably unfair to forget about him, but probably makes sense not to have him in the side. Iheanacho. Now, does Nemecha get in over Iheanacho? I really like Iheanacho, especially when he played for us. Dug us out of a lot of situations, had a great strike rate, seems to be a hard worker, someone who doesn't really put up a fuss and gives a lot when training and all this. So maybe Iheanacho can go in there. I've got more emotional attachment to him as well. I think that'll be the first change. I put Iheanacho up top. I think that's sensible. Cole Palmer in there. Look at that market value. Tosin, once again, I really wasn't thinking when I made this list. Yeah, it was really fun for us here early on. Got his move to Fulham. He's done well there, but over Ben Mee and Rekic, I don't think he gets in. I think he's looking for a move away at Fulham, or at least was kind of hard pushing one. I don't think he got it, but yeah. Tosin maybe could have made the next. Felix Lemaitre, now, yes, I forgot about him. I don't know too much about him, to be fair, so it's probably worth me having a look at him before saying if he gets into the squad or not. Over Lavia, Foden and Diaz, I don't think he does. Plus, I do think, yes, he is very young, but I've heard that he said some risky things, so probably better to keep him out of the squad. David Brooks, player I forgot about. I don't think he gets in, but one of note. Kaiki, Jesus Christ, do we still have him? I don't think he's doing very well. Ooh, yeah. We were all excited about Kaiki, but I don't think... Yeah, he wouldn't make the lists anyway. Liam Delap, maybe. There was a lot of hype around him, but once again, he won't get in over Iheanacho or Lemaitre. Basically, right now, we're just at the point where there's players to go, oh yeah, he played for us. I'm very surprised by Rekic's... Wait, has he moved? Oh, does that change things? That Rekic's gone to Abu Dhabi? He's just come back off the Europa League at 28, 29. Surely he's... To be fair, I can't base his whole career off a move this summer. Can I? Do I put Harwood Bellis in over him? Right, my conundrum right now is Harwood Bellis over Rekic. I think Harwood Bellis, as harsh as it is, doesn't get in on the basis of being right-footed because of Ben Mee will be on that side and Rekic, the balance will be nice. Especially with Trippier kind of usually being a right-back or a right-sided player. Yeah, sorry Harwood, I think I'm going to stick with it. So the only change I'd make from having a look, I'm really quite shocked actually, I didn't find any more players, is Iheanacho. I think, yeah, I'm going to swap Iheanacho for Lemaitre, and that's the transfer mark team. A bit disappointed actually. I thought I'd expect to see a few better players in there, a few more shocks, but the only shock was the fact that Karim Rekic's gone to Abu Dhabi, and I've put him on my team. So that was the first of hopefully many Challenge XIs. I don't know what to call it really. Challenge XIs, XI Challenge, 11 Challenge Man City. Whatever it is, whatever this is, this was the first of them. If you've got your own suggestions of, you know, challenges, XIs, whether it be plus 30 Man City players, it could be anything. I've got a list down here, but if you want to put your own in, feel free to in the comments. If you did like the idea, drop me a like. And as always, if you like Man City ramblings, football ramblings, please subscribe to the channel. And I'll see you on the next one.